Hey, Pastor Jeff here. I hope you're having a good week. Just wanted to drop in and talk to you about going to church. I know, what boring subject, but I know a lot of Christians that have decided that the church is really just full of hypocrites or heathens or bad preaching and all that other stuff. And certainly there are churches that are kind of on that side of things. But I remember a time period when I was coming back to the Lord that I didn't go to church, and I didn't even look for a church because I too felt abandoned by the church. I was really mad at the church because I had been being a scumbag, and some people in churches that I knew that were my friends distanced themselves from me. But that's still my fault, because I had the kind of character that it might have been safe to be distant from. And I thought I had lost friends, but really what I had done is just push some people away with my behavior. But I can honestly tell you that the very day that I decided that I wasn't a lone ranger and that I needed some companions and friends that were believing the same things I was, and trying to move towards some of the same goals that I was trying to move forward. That very day, that Sunday, my life changed forever. See, I honored something that God wanted me to do. That didn't have anything to do with man, didn't have anything to do with the people there at the church. I went to worship Him. I took a Sabbath. I said, I'm going to worship the Lord today. And I went to church. That day I went into deliverance. No man put me in deliverance. Nobody came and put their hand on me and started praying for me. I had just finally stepped forward and decided I need to be somewhere where other Christians are on a steady basis. And maybe you are. But we need to be allies with one another now, not tearing each other apart, not picking apart the body because we find this or that wrong with the body. You wouldn't do that to your human body. You wouldn't just say, well, that's it. I don't want this arm anymore because of the arthritis in it, or whatever the cause. You try and help it and make up for it. And you go in and you're supposed to be the one learning how to provide what other people need in the body, so that when they go out in the world's around them, and they get to see what the church really is about. See, I don't think America's been what the church is about for a long time. And it's too bad, because really we've got a lost generation who would love to have something meaningful and powerful in their lives. And what they get is a bunch of angry Christians, or watered down Christianity, or a bunch of prosperity theories that get them nowhere, instead of the community that the church is supposed to be. How does the church move in power? Well, how does your enemy move in power? There's a group of them taking over a neighborhood. There's a group of them walking into a store. Groups of them just shut down colleges. What if groups of Christians decided to get together, put aside their differences, and start raising up good young people and going out and loving people all across the country? We'd have less of this. We'd still have problems, but we'd have less of them. You see, we weren't called to stand around and pick each other apart. We're all going to be different, and some of us are going to be on a different track than someone else. But I encourage you right now, if you're not in a church, find one. Start shopping for one. Start going to a few different ones. I prefer smaller churches. I don't like great big churches. I like great big churches for conventions and stuff like that. If I'm going to go somewhere, if you know my background, you know where I come from and what church I really align with that's a big church. And I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to get divisive with anybody or get into a fight about big churches. But find a church. Find some like-minded people. If they're not teaching something that you think needs to be taught, work your way up in there and become the one that teaches it. If they're teaching something you don't think needs to be taught, maybe that's not the church for you. But there is one. And in this day and age, you need one. You don't need to be sitting at home watching church. You don't need to be sitting at home bagging on the rest of the church. If that's what you're doing, if you're not in church and you're sitting at home and you're ripping on the church, you're the most destructive Christian in the country. That's what you are. You're a member of the most destructive Christians in the country, because there are good churches out there. I'm in one. I'm a leader in one. And I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. There's good people in these churches, and you need to decide to be one. Not go find one and use one. Decide to be one of the good people in a church. Figure out how to go serve in that church, and figure out how that church goes to serve in its community, what it's supposed to be doing. There's all sorts of churches. You are not excused because you had a bad time at church. You are not excused because you got hurt by a pastor. You are not excused because you think all churches are preaching some sort of blasphemy. There's no way 100% of the churches in your area are preaching something that's going to send you straight to hell. If you don't have enough spirit inside of you to figure out, yeah, this is a solid place, this is a good place, then maybe you need to start asking yourself some questions and ask God to move you in a direction. Pray about finding a church and go find a church. This is no time to be a lone ranger. I was a lone ranger. I was being given gifts and abilities, and I thought that's all I needed. That is not all you need, and it's not all you are. You need to be a part of the Christian community. Not so that you can act like some certain formatted thing, but so that you can bring in your gifts and utilize them with other people's gifts, and so that you can worship together. There is something great about worshiping in a united way. Yeah, it's fun to do it all on your own, and you get certain touches from the Lord, but when you stand in unison with a group of people that are worshiping God, man, it's powerful. And you need to be in that power. You need to be a part of it, and you need it inside of you. Ooh. That's really what I had to say today. And I love you. Have a good rest of your week. And when Sunday shows up, if you don't have a church, find one. Go to one. It's a hard thing to do sometimes, but be bold about it. Walk in with an open mind. Not so open that the gospel doesn't ring true and you accept that, but so open that, hey, these people could probably use me and my talents and my anointings, and I could probably get something from this, and I could probably contribute with these people. It's not that hard. And our enemy's got it down, man. He knows how to organize. So it's about time we get out there and do the same. Talk to you later.